Frank, are you still there?
I am indeed.
Okay, I didn't hear music. I thought maybe I got kicked off, sorry.
Okay, we are live on YouTube. So as more people roll in, just be aware of that.
Hey, Aaron, we have a quorum. We can get started.
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, can we motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Aaron, do we have any public comment?
Doesn't appear so.
None heard. Secretary's report.
All right. Secretary's report. There are currently 132 blighted properties. 5 demolitions recently been completed. 4 demolitions are pending. 1 sale for rehab pending, and 2 structures are yet to be evaluated. Also, I did hear from Mr. Bibbs on Monday. He regretfully informed me that after an appointment last week, he's going to send in his letter of resignation for the Blighted Property Review Committee. So he will be getting that to me. He said hopefully early next week. That way we can ask council to appoint another person. So that is all I have on the Secretary's report.
Okay,
Aaron, we're on council. We're also getting ready to seek applicants for John Reidinger's position. So we'll have 2 to fill then, just so you know, we haven't forgotten about that. Okay.
That'll be great. Thank you.
And I'm not sure, do we send Howard a letter of thank you for his service?
I can't hear anything.
I wouldn't see why we couldn't.
I think that would be nice. I mean, he, put his heart and soul into this. He attended with me a couple of sessions with Scott, to get up to speed. So I don't know how that would come if we usually do something like that, but I just thought it would be nice. And John too. I mean, both of them really were good members, and John kept us on our toes. So just a thought. I'm not sure if we usually do that, but it might be nice to thank them.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Thanks, Aaron.
okay. Aaron, do we have any correspondence?
I have no correspondence in reference to Blighted Property Review Committee.
All right, old business?
All right, old business. I have 4 properties that were demoed by the land bank for rescission of blight. I have 822-24 Ash Street, 915 Ash Street, 725 East 7th, and 2218 Parade Street.
These have all been graded and seeded and completed?
Yes, they are complete.
Do I hear a motion to remove the designation of blight?
PJ Manella, so moved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. New business?
Oh yeah, I think Mike's having some issues.
Calling number on my phone. I can't hear anything, and
Do you want to use my computer?
I have to get all my stuff. Yeah.
Frank,
Okay.
am I able to share my screen?
Is
You should
is
be.
there a
yes.
number I can do on the phone? I didn't see a number in the email.
Just use mine.
Okay, let me grab my files.
Mike's
Mr. Chairman,
computer is not working, so he's gonna move
He's gonna
my
phone
way.
Andy, this is PJ Manella.
Yes.
While we're waiting on him to grab his materials, I have a question. And I apologize to my fellow committee members for my ignorance in not knowing this, but when we make these declarations of blight, legally, what are we saying, or what's happening? And the reason why I ask is because even though a lot of these properties to us would not necessarily be in a habitable condition, with everything going on with COVID-19 and things getting worse, I guess my concern is that when we do this, are we limiting access to these properties by their property owners? I understand, again, that many of them probably would not want to live there, but, with people, not working, or, the possibility of not being able to maybe live in the home that they're living in, some of them may choose to go and live in some of these properties. I understand it might be highly unlikely, but I'm just curious as to what this means when we do this. So,
PJ, most of the properties that probably 99% of them that you see are vacant, and
Uninhabitable.
they're not habitable by any means. People have gone in and done a lot of damage, stripped out all the copper and so forth, or metal. So they're really unsafe for the neighborhood. And by us moving forward and declaring it blighted, most of them have been boarded. We'll have our Parks Department board the buildings, trying to prohibit people from getting in. And we go out many times and board up the same property, unfortunately. People will break in. But it's more to protect the neighborhood, especially children. They like to, it's like a magnet for them, these vacant houses.
Andy and Aaron, one of the things when I was talking about Howard, one of the things Scott had offered to do, because PJ, even though I'm on council, I had similar questions to you, and I'm still not sure that I'm fully grounded in it, but Scott had put together what he called a Blight 101 class for us. And it would be really helpful since we will have two, I assume, new members coming on to Blighted Property. If maybe Kathy and Aaron and Andy would be able to do like an onboarding procedure for new members, but also for the existing members. I know Rich knows his way around. He's been on, you know, a number of other groups that look at properties in you know, in Erie, but it would be really helpful to all of us if there could be something. I kind of saw it as a sort of not just a Blight 101. And Kathy Rosnick knows, I think, what I'm referring to. When we went to that land bank meeting, Kathy Schaff and I went to the land bank meeting probably 2 years ago, where that was sponsored by the Council of Governments, and the Tri-County Land Bank from down near Pittsburgh came. And it was so helpful to understand how a land bank works. But I think it would be really helpful, not just for Blighted Property Review people, but even for the rest of council to understand. I was looking through old newspaper clippings from my career, actually, and I found a really, really, really old story from the Lou Tullio era, where the headline was, you know, City of Erie to tackle blight. So we've been doing this for a long time, and I think it would be really helpful to know what the tools are, what the steps are, how something gets conveyed to the land bank, and how it then gets disposed. So it doesn't have to be intensive, but I think it could be a model for how we do appointments to other boards and authorities in the city. And I had talked a little bit about this with Renee Lamus last week, you know, trying to help us do our jobs as good as possible. And Angela, I don't know if that would be helpful to you also. You've been a very faithful committee member here. So just a thought.
I would be interested in that as well.
Thank you.
No, thank you all. I appreciate that. I just wanted to know what we were, you know, what the legal ramifications were when we did this, because you know, again, as I heard Michael in the background say, they're uninhabitable. I get that. But as we know, sometimes shelter is shelter, whether it's got running water or electric or whatever it might be, especially as it gets colder. So that's, you know, something that I was thinking is some people could be losing their homes, and they might, you know, go to these places just simply for shelter to keep away from the elements. But I get that. I just wanted to know what the ramifications were. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, PJ, just as you know, our first action was to remove the declaration of blight. Now, those were properties that had already been cleared, but there's nothing stopping a property owner who that situation that you just described is probably highly unlikely, because they have this is property that they own, but they have a house somewhere else. So the likelihood that they're going to lose that home wherever they're living and move into something that's uninhabitable is probably less likely. But in the case that if that was the situation, there's nothing stopping them from coming in and fixing up the house enough to make it habitable and asking for the declaration to be lifted. So there is a process in place if that was the situation. But in any case, you would want someone to be living in a home that has running water, that has electricity, that the roof is not leaking. I mean, there's basic things that they could do to make it habitable, and then work with the city to live in it. But I just think that those cases are going to be very, very far and few in between. You know, it's just not going to happen. But at least, as Andy said, this helps stabilize the neighborhood, so we don't have all the sort of illegal activity that can happen within blighted and abandoned structures.
Kathy, that was the answer I was looking for, and I appreciate that. And the legal access to the property, property rights is really what I was getting at. So thank you. That's all I have. Sorry for the question.
That's a good question.
No, that's fine. And then to follow up on Liz's comment, I'll put something together because as Scott has, get all the time, I can make something, and put the process together. All right.
All right. Okay. Mike?
I think I'm working up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Just to elaborate a little bit on the previous conversation, we don't deny them access to the property at all. And there's been several times where the owner has asked me to meet them on site to show them what work is needed to be done and what permit process needs to take place to do the repairs and to fix the property to get it removed from the blighted list. And I have met them out there and walked them around the property and told them what I saw. And they have every right to go to the property and improve it and work on it. And I work with them and encourage it if I can, if they are responsive, even though the property is on the blighted properties list.
Thank you.
Sure. So are we on the new business now? Sorry, I was having technical difficulties earlier, but I got it figured out. But first up, I have 936 East 9th Street. This one has been on our radar for quite a while. The water's been off since 2015. There is a zero balance on it. There is no electric. The meter has been pulled. The police have been here several times. There's suspected drug activity inside, and we've had it boarded up a few times. We've sent notices out in August of 19, June of this year, and December of this year. They've had quality of life tickets issued in October of 19 and August of this year. The porch roof is collapsing. Most of the windows are boarded up. Excuse me. The grass is overgrown. It is vacant. It does have a garage in the back that has some issues as well. It's missing siding. And this is a non-responsive owner.
I'll move to blight. Andy,
Second.
there you go. You're muted, Andy.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Who seconded that?
Me.
It was Rich.
Okay.
Next up, we have 557 East 12th Street. This one is right on 12th Street. It's a pretty big eyesore on a busy intersection. This is one that starts to get worked on. Excuse me. Starts to get worked on, gets left. Starts to get worked on, gets left. It has a new owner that purchased it in judicial sale last November. Took possession in March. Started working on it for a few months, and then took off. He went to Seattle or something for a few months. Came back in. And currently started working on it again, but without permits. And I've shut him down once and told him he needed to see the building inspector. He doesn't live there. It is vacant, but he does plan on rebuilding it. And my intent to present this to the board is because I'm afraid, even though he is starting to work on it now, either he's not going to do it properly or he's going to do it. It's going to be a start and stop situation. There isn't a ton on a new owner, but there's a lot on the previous owner. It's been in our records for quite a while. I do think the owner is going to fix it up, but my intent is to present it to the blight board so they can be watched if it is declared blighted in case he stops working on it again. The water is on. but he does have a past due amount, and the water authority said that he would be shut off if it wasn't for the COVID restrictions. There was a fire or a gas leak in November of 19, and the gas company pulled the meter. And I don't have any evidence to state that it's been turned back on. There were notices sent out in 17 and 2 in 19 with the new owner, and then 1 in December of this month with the new owner. And I have spoken to him, and he is responsive, and he does seem like he wants to work with us. Excuse me. But this is another situation where I'm afraid he's going to start and stop like the previous owner did. And it's going to be left sitting like that if we don't keep an eye on it or put it on the blighted list.
This is a situation where if we do declare blighted, it gives us a little bit of control of the property, and we do try our best to work with them, but if they don't, then we can move forward with taking the property.
And my fear is if he is doing work in there, it should be done properly and safe and with proper permits and inspections. And I think this gives us a little more control to ensure that.
PJ Manella, I move to blight.
I'll second.
All in
Liz
favor?
seconds. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have 627 East 8th Street. This one we've boarded up. It's got some roof issues. It's behind in taxes since 2014 for over $8,000. The water was shut off January of this year. There's no electric. The electric meter's been pulled. It is vacant. We do have a board and seal lien on it dating back to last month. This one has a pretty long history, but we've sent notices back in 15, in July of this year and December of this year, and they were both non-responsive and returned. They're all non-responsive and returned. It's got some kind of weird makeshift fence in the back that looks like it was randomly put together. At one point in time in 2016, someone started working on it, pulled a permit, and then let the permits go and never came back. So no work was done. But I would assume this one's on the repository list.
I'll move to blight.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
And lastly, I have 2406 French Street. There is a long case history with this one, more than I could fit on these reports, so I just put the most recent down on here. There are water liens on it. The water has been off since 2018 for over $2,000 for sewer and garbage. We have sent notices out, several notices out in 2015, August of 18, June of this year, and December of this year. They were cited in 16, no show, found guilty. Cited in 17, showed up, but found guilty, and cited again in April of this year, and the results are outstanding. This is another start and stop issue where they started to do some work, stopped, started to do some work, stopped, took off, and now people are dumping garbage in the side yard there. It's whatever they wrapped the one side of the house and it's fallen off again because it's been so long since it's been left there. And the back house has some roof issues. The back part of the roof looks like it's got a hole in it. And this, you can see the siding there. But this is another non-responsive owner. Usually when we send notices out, they won't respond to that, but a repair or demo notice almost always gets a response because it's a little more threatening, But even with these last few rounds, even the repair demo notices didn't get responses.
Do I have a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to,
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Okay, very good. Anything else to
I had a
mention?
quick question. I came in late. Liz, you were talking about Howard. Is his term up or is he resigning?
He's resigning due to health reasons, I believe, right, Aaron?
Yeah, he reached
He had
out to me
just
on
been
Monday.
reappointed.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I just had a general question, Michael. I don't know why I'm echoing, but
I think it's coming from my speakers into my microphone. Let me turn it down a little bit and see if that helps.
when people start and stop these projects, is there a common thread? Is it that they bite off more than they can chew, or is it, I don't know, I just wondered if there's a commonality to the ones where it's like, okay, we're going to start, or is it a question of commitment or time, or is it all of the above? I wondered.
It's all of the above. Most of these are on the repository and people pick them up for $250. And they have big dreams, but once they walk in the front door, they're overwhelmed. And we see that a lot.
I know on council lately, it seems most of our repository sales have been empty lots. We did try and make a concerted effort to at least ask people when they appeared before council, what are your plans? What is your timeline? And do you have the resources? That's no guarantee that that they'll actually follow through, but we had made an effort to do that. Although it just seems like lately it's been, I want to buy the lot. And even that, I guess it would be helpful for us to, when people come up and say, yes, I'm going to build a playground for my kids or something, or I'm going to maintain the lot. Somehow, I don't know who would be able to let us know if that actually happens. Do you have any experience on those empty lots? If they actually, when people buy those empty lots, are we seeing that they are doing what they say they're going to do?
Most of the time, they just encompass them, like the neighbor buys them and then puts a fence around them and encompasses them in their yard. But to add to your previous question, a lot of times what happens is people will buy these houses and start to like masking tape fix them, for lack of a better word. And then we shut them down and tell them the proper procedure and the permits needed. And then that's a little bit more than they want to spend. And then they leave the property sit.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Aaron, you probably see a lot of the selling the lots to these people. What do you see?
As far as the side lots, I mean, in most time, like Mike said, they put fences around it, or in most cases, they just take over mowing it if they haven't already been mowing it over the past few years. Every once in a while, someone uses it for, a driveway, in the case where they don't have off-street parking previously. But primarily, I mean, the lots that we do sell are for side lots, and really that's all it is for them to expand their yard, put up a play set or just have a place for their kids to play in.
And you do approach all the neighbors surrounding that lot and offering it to all of them, correct?
Yes, every property that is like the 4 that had blight rescissions today, every property owner that adjoins that property on the sides and the back gets a notice that it is available for sale at the minimum price, and it's open for offers. And once we have at least one offer, it's open for 30 days, and then we'll present it in front of the land bank board for these 4 for approval to sell it. More than likely as a side lot. Every once in a while, somebody comes along that owns a lot across the street or something like that wants to buy it.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? None heard. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.